A Guatemalan asylum seeker sued the Trump administration on Tuesday for forcibly separating her from her 7-year-old son after they crossed the border in May.Beata Mariana de Jesus-Mejia-Mejia was never indicted for illegally entering the country, but officials won't tell where her son Darwin is, according to her lawsuit, filed Tuesday in federal district court in Washington, D.C. against 6 federal agencies and 10 senior officials. Mejia-Mejia's lawsuit is believed to be the first to challenge the government's removal of a specific child from a parent in the course of upholding federal immigration law. It opens up a new legal front in what has become an all-out battle with the White House on one side and a combination of Democratic lawmakers and immigration activists on the other. In the suit, she describes a heart-wrenching scene when uniformed agents entered her holding cell and took away the boy, who screamed for his mother. Mejia-Mejia and her son entered the U.S. near San Luis, Arizona on approximately May 19 and turned herself into U.S. Border Patrol agents, requesting asylum because of spousal abuse at the hands of a violently alcoholic husband who she says threatened to kill her. She says immigration officials took the boy after they spent 2 days in La Hielera, the cooler. Scroll down to read the entire lawsuit. Men dressed in green uniforms, border agents, told Ms. M they needed to take her son and would not tell her why. Ms. M said no and demanded an explanation, but they would not tell her why they needed to take her 7-year-old son, and they took him anyway, the legal complaint reads, referring to Mejia-Mejia and her son only by their initials. The border agents did not tell Ms. M where they were taking her son, who was screaming and crying. That was the last time Ms. M saw her son, according to the lawsuit.She has not been given any paperwork to indicate where her son is or what his status or health condition is, it alleges. Mejia-Mejia was released from federal immigration detention center in Eloy, Arizona on June 15 after posting a $12,500 bond. The funds came from Libre by Nexus, a company that typically requires immigrants awaiting court hearings to pay 20% of their bond plus a monthly fee of about $420 for GPS monitoring ankle bracelets designed to ensure they come to scheduled hearings. Mejia-Mejia was permitted to post bond after she passed what the Justice Department calls a credible fear interview, persuading immigration officials that deporting her back to Guatemala would place her in physical danger. After her release, Mejia-Mejia was permitted a single phone call with Darwin, whom agents would only tell her was somewhere in Phoenix. Her son was crying and scared during the brief call, according to the lawsuit. An official facilitating the call, who was with D.M., told Ms. M that her son was fine, but Ms. M could clearly hear her son saying "Mama, Mama, Mama" in a distressed voice over and over and over again. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen said Monday at the White House that children like Darwin are typically held in shelters by the Department of Health and Human Services for no more than 20 days. That agency's Office of Refugee Resettlement provides meals, medical care, and educational services to these children. They are provided temporary shelter, and HHS works hard to find a parent, relative, or foster home to care for these children, she said. Nielsen also told reporters that parents like Mejia-Mejia can still communicate with their children through phone calls and video conferencing. That doesn't appear to have happened in her case. Neither an ICE spokesperson nor the White House immediately responded to requests for comment. President Donald Trump said Tuesday on Twitter that the U.S. must always arrest people coming into our country illegally. Of the 12,000 children, 10,000 are being sent by their parents on a very dangerous trip, and only 2,000 are with their parents, many of whom have tried to enter our country illegally on numerous occasions. In a speech to the National Federation of Independent Business, Trump said that the government has only 2 choices that don't break current law. "We have only 2 policy options to respond to this massive crisis," he said. "We can either release all immigrant families and minors who show up at the border from Central America, or we can arrest the adults for the federal crime of illegal entries. Those are the only two options: totally open borders or criminal prosecution for lawbreaking. Attorney General Jeff Sessions approved a zero-tolerance immigration enforcement policy in April, directing agents in the field to spare no one from prosecution after an illegal border crossing. What has changed, Nielsen said Monday, is that we no longer exempt entire classes of people who break the law. Everyone is subject to prosecution. She underscored that, if an adult enters at a port of entry and claims asylum, they will not face prosecution for illegal entry. They have not committed a crime by coming to the port of entry. Mejia-Mejia is not facing criminal prosecution despite jumping the border in between those legal ports of entry, calling the consistency of the zero-tolerance approach into doubt. Share this article. Share 11 shares in her legal argument. She claims the Trump administration has separated hundreds of migrant families for no legitimate purpose. Although there are no allegations that the parents are unfit or abusing their children in any way, the government has forcibly separated them from their young children and detained the children, often far away, in facilities for unaccompanied minors, she charges. It's unclear whether Mejia-Mejia's asylum request will be granted. Last week Sessions ruled that domestic violence can no longer be considered grounds for asylum unless an applicant can prove he or she was persecuted because of membership in a particular and socially distinct group like race or gender. But passing the credible fear test and bonding out of jail suggests her case may fit into a narrow range of exceptions. In her lawsuit, Mejia-Mejia is asking a federal judge to declare separating her from her son was unlawful, to order the boys returned to her, and forbid the government from deporting her without him. She is also seeking financial damages for the pain and suffering arising from the separation and punitive damages for the conscious disregard for her rights. The lawsuit cites the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and alleges that the Trump administration violated her and her son's rights to due process under the law. They have a liberty interest under the Due Process Clause in remaining together as a family, it contends. The American Civil Liberties Union sued the administration this year, challenging the policy more generally. A judge ruled June 6 that the suit can proceed forward, saying that it describes government conduct that arbitrarily tears at the sacred bond between parent and child. Mejia-Mejia sued U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the Department of Health and Human Services, and its Office of Refugee Resettlement. Individual named defendants include Nielsen, Sessions, HHS Secretary Alex Azar, Acting ICE Director Thomas Homan, Phoenix ICE Field Office Director Henry Lucero and Assistant Field Office Director Michael Zakowski, USIS Director L. Francis Isna, Acting CBP Commissioner Kevin McAllenan, and his Tucson Field Director William Brooks, and Office of Refugee Resettlement Director Scott Lloyd. President Trump is not named as a defendant. The case is Mejia-Mejia v. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement et al., 118 CV 01445. Mejia-Mejia v. ICE by dailymail.com on script privacy policy.